Welcome to the Tuesday show. Technically, it's the Wednesday show because I'm a little late. And yeah, we have 10 stories for you today. And one of them is Miyamoto wants Nintendo to be let out of the console wars that's focused on high specs and performance. And the other one is that California signed a bill in order to make companies let you know if they're actually selling you the game or they're just renting it to you. Before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. If you like the video, watch it all the way through and let me know what you think in the comment section. Let's get into it. Miyamoto is a legend in gaming, and if you don't know who Miyamoto is, he's literally the guy who's probably invented every game from Nintendo that you like and that you've heard of. He is also a guy that's worked with Nintendo to save the console market single-handedly, and if it weren't for him, we more than likely wouldn't have video games as we know it today. And Nintendo has always done this their way. They've always made games the way they want to, and Miyamoto has always made games the way they wanted to. It's very rare that Nintendo's ever gotten in this console war when it comes to specs and when it comes to power. That's never been really Nintendo's game. They've done it like maybe once or twice, and they've kind of shied away from it because they're not very good at it. They're good at being Nintendo, which is why this story doesn't surprise me. Miyamoto wants Nintendo to be left out of the game wars, focused on high specs and performance. He said as much during the interview with Famsu, as translated by DeepL, in honor of opening of the Nintendo Museum, which officially launches on October 2nd in Kyoto. He began by explaining that part of the reason for the existence of the museum is for not only the employees, but also for people who know about Nintendo, including 3 generations of parents and children, could come out to see the museum and understand what Nintendo is all about. I hope that they will understand Nintendo and not get involved in what is sometimes called the game war, the console wars, such as high specs and how to improve the performance of game consoles, he continued. Nintendo will continue to make products that are uniquely Nintendo using various technologies available in the world today, and we will continue to create not only games but also entertainment content. Miyamoto's comments are candid but also not a massive shock considering Nintendo has largely been left out of the console war conversation, at least in comparison to Sony and Microsoft. Those two companies have continued to focus on high specs and performance in particular, with Sony recently announcing the pricey PlayStation 5 Pro. So the reason why Nintendo doesn't go all in when it comes to like console war specs and all that stuff is they're not very good at it. Nintendo is a toy company. They started out as a toy company, and at their core, they always will be a toy company. They know how things are just fun, and that's in Nintendo's DNA, and it'll always be in Nintendo's DNA, knowing how things are fun. And you can see it in their games. Their games are just so like they go everywhere. They go from Metroid to Mario Odyssey to Zelda. Even their indie titles are extremely varied and different. So Nintendo has always been different. They're not good at console wars, and they really never have been. The 2 times that they've done it, which was the N64 and the GameCube, they really didn't do that well. And the times that they focused on fun with the Wii and the Switch and the other consoles that they've had, they've made so much money. They've made as much money as PlayStation has with their most successful consoles, which is the PlayStation 2, which focused on power. Nintendo is good at being Nintendo, and they always will be good at being Nintendo. And that's not to say that they can't make AAA games that everybody wants. They can, and they do. But that's not their main focus. Their main focus is purely being Nintendo, and Miyamoto is purely the person that drives that force in the creativity of what Nintendo is. Now, some people complain that Nintendo's games are a little bit too kiddish, but yeah, their games are no doubt fun, and most of all, they sell a crap load of copies and a crap load of consoles. So I hope Nintendo keeps being Nintendo, because they're not good at being this console war high specs console that makes AAA games. They're just not good at that. And that's okay. Everybody's good at something. PlayStation is clearly the king when it comes to high specs and AAA games, and Nintendo is clearly the king when it comes to being Nintendo and offering a fun game that everybody can enjoy. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I hope just keep being you, Nintendo. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think Miyamoto is right that Nintendo should focus on just having fun and creative ways of making games, or do you think they should be focusing on specs? And does this worry you about the Nintendo Switch too? Let me know what you think in the comment section. The unfortunate reality is that physical media is more than likely going away in the near future. Whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, digital media will be taking over. So it's not a surprise to see that there's a lot of people that are concerned whether or not that they own the actual copy that they buy on PlayStation, on Xbox, on their PC. And guess what? More than likely, when you buy something on PlayStation or on Xbox, you're not owning it forever. You're probably just renting it, which leads to this California bill and why it makes so much sense why they're doing this. I just wish they went a little further. California's new law will force storefronts to disclose that buyers don't actually own their digital purchase media. California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a bill into law that won't stop companies from taking away your digital purchase video games, movies, and TV shows, but it'll at least force them to be a little bit more transparent about it. As spotted by The Verge, the law AB 2426 will prohibit storefronts from using words buy, purchase, or any term which a reasonable person would understand to confer an unrestricted ownership interest in the digital good or along an option for a time-limited rental. The law won't apply to storefronts which state in plain language that you're actually just licensing the digital content and that the license could expire at any time, or to products that can be permanently downloaded. As retailers continue to pivot away from selling physical media, the need for customers' protections on purchase of digital media has become increasingly more important, California Assembly member and bill author Irwin said in a statement. I thank Governor for signing the AB 2426, ensuring the false and deceptive advertising from selling of digital media, incorrectly telling customers they own their purchases, becoming a thing of the past. The law will go into effect next year, and companies who violate the terms could be hit with a false advertisement fine. It also applies to ebooks, music, and other forms of digital media, which, you know what? I wanted this bill to go a little further and more saying that they can't do that, period. But at the same time, this is just a step in the right direction. And this is where I talk about with my friends that politics isn't everything, and it literally isn't everything. I really hope that in the future Congress and the presidency can pass a bill that says that they can't sell you something and just take it away even though you paid full price for the game and expect to own it. There has to be a law that needs to be passed in the near future because, like I said, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether anybody likes it or not, yeah, physical media is a thing of the past and more than likely will only exist as the way vinyls do, or maybe only special editions will come out for it, where they'll be like, yeah, we're gonna make 1,000 copies of this physical media and that's it, we're not gonna make it anymore. That's more than likely what physical media is heading to, and it is inevitability that digital will be the main part of how we play video games and how we have them. Like, to be honest with you, I don't have any room in my room to put any physical media, because if I did, I would more than likely have most of my AAA games in physical form. Because if PlayStation goes away, which I know it's very unlikely that happens, but if it does go away, most of those digital purchases will not be mine. They will more than likely go away, and I won't be able to transfer them to an Xbox or to a PC, which is why this law makes so much sense, and I like that is what they're doing. I hope that we can have an E3 moment where one of the main gaming publishers come out and say, like, hey, if you buy your digital purchase and you purchase it full price, you didn't rent it, that game is yours forever. You can take it wherever you want, digitally, whatever you want to do. And I hope that's where it's going. But if not, a law needs to be passed and it needs to be done in the near future, because that is where we're heading. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Are you scared of an all digital, like, consoles and games and ebooks and all the digital stuff that you can think of? Are you scared that might be a bad future? Do you think it's a good future? Let me know what you think in the comment section. And remember, you're pretty good. So this one brings back memories, since this has been a thing that has been on again and off again since before I entered high school. And if I'm not mistaken, I remember reading a magazine with screenshots of what was supposed to be a StarCraft Ghost first-person shooter, which Blizzard has been trying to make for the longest time, which why this story excites me so much. Blizzard reportedly working on a StarCraft shooter with ex-Far Cry chief Dan Hay at the helm. Blizzard is reportedly making a third attempt at developing a StarCraft shooter with former Far Cry executive producer Dan Hay, who joined Blizzard in 2022, leading the change. Hot on the heels of Microsoft's announcement that StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2 Campaign Collection hit the Game Pass subscription service in November, it has emerged that Blizzard is also working on a StarCraft shooter. Word comes from Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier while speaking to IGN podcast Unlocked below about his new book, Play Nice, The Rise and Fall and the Future of Blizzard Entertainment. Hay's StarCraft shooter is mentioned in the book, and IGN's Ryan McCraffy asked Schreier if it's likely to actually come out. Yes, that is a project, as far as I know, is in development, or at least as of the time that I wrote this book was in development. They're working on the StarCraft shooter. StarCraft is not dead at Blizzard. The goal of the book isn't to get a bunch of scoops about the upcoming things. That wasn't just the purpose of the book at all. It was very much to tell the story and focus on the stuff that had happened, but this felt like such an interesting and useful nugget to include because it really just shows you that Blizzard cannot quit StarCraft shooters. And this is true. Again, in 2022, it was rumored that this game was being made, StarCraft Ghosts. And in 2006, when I entered high school, or at least a sophomore in high school, it was completely canceled and we haven't heard anything since. And so there's been 2 attempts with StarCraft Ghosts to make a game, and you can see what that game actually looked like online, and it looked really cool. StarCraft is one of those games that deserves a first-person shooter. You see Warhammer being so successful with its new game that came out with Space Marine 2, and that game heavily influences StarCraft. So imagine StarCraft's world in a first-person view. It would be amazing, especially for a guy like me that loved all the StarCraft games and loved playing them. I really, really hope that Blizzard goes through with this, and we probably won't see this game until the next generation of consoles or towards the end of this generation, and then jump into the new generation of consoles, like from the PS5 Pro to the PS6. And yeah, like it more than likely we won't like see it like anytime soon, but it still excites me because StarCraft deserves some love. I know that Blizzard doesn't want to make StarCraft RTSs anymore because they just don't make money, and compared to World of Warcraft, Shiny Horse, you can look this up, the Shiny Horse expansion that people could buy for DLC made more money than Wings of Liberty. So like, I'm not sure what, like, stop buying DLC is like the best thing that I can say if you want StarCraft to even become a thing. Stop buying DLC like that in general, like, because that is just like gross. But like, StarCraft deserves some love. StarCraft deserves its own first-person shooter. I really hope that if this game does come out, it reinvigorates all of the StarCraft community and it makes it to where StarCraft is back and we can start loving that whole universe and lore. Like, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think that this game will come out? And if you do think this game will come out, when do you think it'll come out? And yeah, remember, you're pretty good. So palworld has been a overnight sensation and has been killing it. And recently at Tokyo Game Show, it was announced that it was coming to the PS5. And for some reason, it wasn't announced for Japan. And this might be the reason why. Pokemon lawsuit shows just how serious Nintendo views the threat of palworld, patent expert says. Velzen ran through the various patents that Nintendo may have filed in Japan specifically to take Pocket Pair on, and discussed the possibility that the company may file a lawsuit in the US if it successfully secures similar patents there. Regardless though, I think we are seeing just how seriously Nintendo views the threat of palworld, Velzen said. Velzen also noted the interesting timing of the lawsuit With the imminent Tokyo Game Show, Pocket Pair was heavily rumored to be set to announce a PlayStation 5 version of the game at this week's TGS, and so it proved, with palworld shadow drop everywhere except for Japan, where the developer is now facing a patent lawsuit with Nintendo. Like, some of these patent lawsuits that Nintendo does are just kind of gross. Like, not the lawsuit, but the patents that they actually do in general. For example, you know how in Pokemon you get a Pokeball, you throw it, and you get a Pokemon and you capture it, and that's how you capture the Pokemon after battling it? They have a patent on that whole function, like in a game period. Like, if your game captures a monster in a ball, that is a patent in, like, that they patent that. You can't do that in a video game period. If you do, you'll either have to get a license from Nintendo, or you more than likely will get your ass sued to oblivion, which is some of the dirtiest things that I've ever seen in my entire life. That is some dirty Nintendo. That is some Disney stuff right there. And I really hope that if Nintendo wins, they win it in Japan and they don't win in the United States. Thankfully, the FTC here in the United States has been a little bit better when it comes to giant corporations trying to show their power when it comes to lawsuits and stuff like that. They've been a little better with that kind of stuff, but I hope that Nintendo doesn't win this lawsuit in the United States. In Japan, so be it. Nintendo kind of rules Japan, like that's their territory. So if they want to have that patent over there and rule with Pokemon over there, that would be great. But I really hope that palworld's able to thrive outside of Japan and able to make their games wherever they want to, because that patent is one of the dirtiest patents I've ever read in my entire life. And yeah, I just can't. The only thing that I can't stand about this story is the only reason Nintendo is even looking into this is because a bunch of Pokemon fans got upset that palworld even existed and snitched to Nintendo of what was going on, and that is really gross. And that is a level of fanboy I have never reached, even in my teen and 20s when I was a huge PlayStation fanboy. I still am, but not like, I don't get into the console wars or anything like that. That is a level of fanboyness that I think is just disgusting, and I really hope that is not paid off by Pokemon fans and Nintendo fans. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think that Nintendo is right for doing this patent lawsuit? Do you think that they'll win going after them? Let me know what you think in the comment section. And remember, you're pretty good. So the new big thing on Steam and by Valve, created by Steam, is Deadlock. Everybody is talking about this game and it's really fun. I unfortunately haven't been able to play it because I've been under the weather, and I just haven't been able to play it, but I'm gonna try to this weekend because it looks like a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie. But people are already cheating in this game, and keep in mind, this is a MOBA game. This is a early access MOBA game that doesn't really, like, it's not even out in the public yet. You have to share your code in order for you to invite somebody to come play the game, and people are already cheating in it. Like, that's insane. So Valve did something ingenious that I really love and is very Valve and very Steam. Valve's new multiplayer game Deadlock lets you turn cheaters into a frog. This week's Deadlock patch added a novel anti-cheat measure, turning a cheater into a game frog. If you spot a cheater in-game, you can either ban them then and there, or transform them into a frog for the rest of the match. Here's a note: patch notes. Added an initial anti-cheat detection system. When a user is detected as cheating during the game session, the opponents will be given a chance to choose between banning the user immediately and ending the match, or turning the cheater into a frog for the rest of the game and then banning them afterwards. The system is set to conservative detection levels as we work on a version 2 anti-cheat system that is more extensive. We will turn on the banning of users in a couple of days after the update is out. When a match is ended this way, the results will not count for the other players. So yeah, that is just such a cool way. That's such a Valve way of having anti-cheaters. Just turning honestly, I would choose to turn them into a frog all day, every day, just to fuck with the frog. You know what I mean? It's a frog that you're shooting at, and it doesn't count against the other team. So like, might as well have some fun and torture the cheater for the entirety of the game till he leaves. And he's not gonna learn his lesson. I'm glad that Valve understands this isn't gonna deter people from cheating, but in the next version of the update, they will have a version that just bans players after people are having fun, like messing with them. So that's cool. And I need to play Deadlock this weekend. This weekend, my goal is just to play Deadlock. I'm gonna start a Dead Space playthrough for this Halloween season, for spooky season, because I need to conquer my fears with that. But this weekend, I need to play Deadlock. I really wish the Deadlock had controller support. It doesn't, so I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and figure out how to play with one hand on keyboard. So we'll see how that goes. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think this is a cool way of having anti-cheat measures, and do you think it'll actually work? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and remember, you're pretty good. So if you're a big fan of Horizon Forbidden West and we're looking forward to a sequel, I really have bad news for you. It's more than likely not going to be coming out in the near future, and it's not because people don't want it. It is because of another dumb reason from another CEO, Jim Ryan, that's not even there, that push for live service games. And this is a story by IGN. Live service games Horizon Online reportedly Guerrilla's next project. Horizon 3 might be a ways off. Squire told Spawnways Spawncast the promised Horizon 3 might be a ways off. However, Guerrilla is in an interesting place because they're working on this Horizon Online game that I'm not sure how many people want that, Squire said, raising questions about Guerrilla's strategy. They got this Horizon Zero Dawn remaster coming and the Lego Horizons Adventures coming. What happens if neither of those hit? And it turns out there isn't a ton of interest in Horizon anymore. Are they still going to be doing that online game? There are a lot of questions around their strategy and around that online game that I certainly have. Sony's live service push has seen a hit in Arrowhead's PC and PlayStation 5's co-op shooter Helldivers 2, which is the fastest selling PlayStation Studio game of all time, but Firewalk hero shooter Concord flopped so hard, becoming one of the most disastrous launches in PlayStation history, and I quote by IGN, not only one of the biggest blunders in gaming history, but in PlayStation history, but one of the biggest in gaming history, which is kind of insane. And he goes on and says, don't hold your breath for Horizon 3, however. And their plan, Horizon Online, is their next project, not whatever the third single-player game looks like, Squire said. So that one might be a ways off. He continued, PlayStation's live service initiative was no joke. Everybody was like, it's a live service game all around. Horizon is one of the few ones that hasn't been cancelled or hasn't come out and flopped the way Concord did. So a lot of questions there, but a lot of people are working on that online project. So if you don't know who Jason Schreier is, he's probably the most respected gaming journalist in the world, and that's not an exaggeration. The guy's legit. So if he's saying this, he has legitimate sources on the inside. This guy has sources literally everywhere. He is a legitimate gaming journalist and he does a really good job. So if he's saying it, it's true. I've been reading this guy's articles since I was in high school, so he is legit. And it's kind of disappointing, it's kind of disappointing because I know that this more than likely means Horizon isn't going to come out till the PS6 comes out, which I'll explain why. Usually what happens with God of War Ragnarok, they had the majority of the team working on God of War Ragnarok, but then they were also had a small portion of the team with Cory Barlog. The reason why he wasn't directing Ragnarok was because he was working on his new IP. He had written all the plans, everything that they had to do in God of War Ragnarok, while he worked over here on his other game and got all the planning, all the character models done, every engine detail done, and everything finished with that, and just trying to nail what the game's going to be like and what they want it to be. And once Ragnarok was finished, they came over to Cory Barlog's new IP in order to further it and make it to where everybody was all hands on deck with that game, and more than likely that game will come out within the next year or year and a half. So that game's going to come out soon. Now you may be wondering, why can't you do that with Horizon Online? Why is it once Horizon comes out, the majority of the people can go work on the Horizon 3? Because with no doubt, Horizon 3 is being worked on. It's more than likely being worked on a team with 50 to 60 people doing what I said that they did with the Cory Barlog new IP, is where they're working on it, they're getting down exactly what they want the game to be, and just doing some quality of life updates with the engine. And they're doing that as we speak. But once Horizon Online comes out, they can't exactly just pull 250 developers and put them on Horizon and just leave 60 people making the game and keeping the game just working. You can't do that, because with Concord's flop, Concord was $39. Keep that in mind. It was $39 for a game that was supposed to be free to play. They're not gonna make this game $39. I guarantee you that they are thinking really hard whether or not they should make that a $30 game. And if they do, they better offer so much crap with that $39 like the way Helldivers 2 did, in order to make people want to play this game. Keep in mind, Helldivers 2 was already an established IP, an established online game that people were excited for. Horizon is an established single-player game that people really aren't even excited to hear what this Horizon Online game is. So it's kind of confusing and puts them in this weird spot, because if they make this game free, and even if they make it $39, you have to keep people there in order to feed people live service content, whether it's free or not. And yes, they could take the majority of those developers and put it on Horizon 3, but at what consequence of their online game that they've already spent more than likely hundreds of millions of dollars in order to just make, let alone make profit on. I don't want Horizon Online to fail, but at the same time, this is just a bad strategy, and why most PlayStation studios didn't want to make live service games in the first place, because it keeps you from moving on to the next project. It should always come from the team on the inside that wants to make an online game, that wants to see a game, their vision be an online game service that they feel that can be new. It just doesn't make sense to make a single player game developer make a online live service game. But I'm rooting for Guerrilla. I hope that this game is really good, and I hope that I don't even know what to say. I hope that they succeed. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Are you worried about Horizon 3? Does this make you worry about Horizon Online? I know it does for me. And let me know what you think in the comment section. And remember, you're pretty good. Death Stranding was probably one of the weirdest, but one of the most unique and fun games that I played when it came out. And I am so looking forward to Death Stranding 2. But it's coming out in 2025, or at least targeting in 2025. But Kojima kind of says some things that makes me wonder if it is coming out in 2025. Hideo Kojima says Death Stranding 2 is 30 to 40% complete, still targeting 2025 launch. Kojima left the crowd waiting as far as details coming to Death Stranding 2 upcoming release, while previously announcing that the principal photography of the performers finished in May of this year. Kojima said that much work remains, including re-recording all the dialogue in Japanese with all the affirmation actors. He estimated that development is only 30 to 40% complete at this time, but reiterated a 2025 launch target for the game. Internally, they have a date in mind, he said, but he declined to share that information with the assembled crowd. So 30-40% complete is not a bad number. I would be more comfortable if he said 40 to 50% complete, which probably means this game's not coming out till November of next year, or like the winter of next year. I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the date that's released, because 30-40% finished is a little shaky, I'm not gonna lie. And Hideo Kojima is very much the type of person that likes having things exactly his way, and if it's not exactly his way, they're not going to release it. And do not be surprised if this game gets pushed back to 2026, but they are targeting 2025, and I'm sure they're trying their best to get it out in 2025. But again, Kojima wants things a certain way, and he will not release this game unless it's perfect. I remember on Metal Gear Solid 4, they were very close on delaying the game a third time. I think they had delayed it like one or two times, and then they delayed it a third time, and they were gonna delay it a third time because the game had so many bugs, and Kojima is not the type of guy to release a game with bugs that are just horrifically breaking the game. He won't do that. He doesn't believe in releasing games like that. He's very old school because he comes from a time where game updates weren't a thing, and if you release a game broken, that game was going to be broken. So if Kojima says this game is 30-40% done, it's that percentage, and it makes me worry about 2025. I really want to play this game, but it really wouldn't be a Kojima game if we got this game broken, glitchy, and a complete mess. I really enjoyed the Stranding, and I thought that it was a great game. It was a weird game, but it really didn't have many glitches in it. Now that I think about it, I was playing the game the day that it came out, and it really didn't have any glitches now that I think about it. It was just a smooth game all the way through. I binged that game like 2 days in a row and pretty much finished it, and it didn't really have any bugs. So I don't mind if this game is delayed, but I'm hoping for 2025, at least fall 2025. So we'll see what happens, and let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think this game will make the 2025 release? And or do you think it'll get delayed? And remember, you're pretty good. Make sure you guys like, comment, and all that stuff. And now for our main story, Dragon Age Vailgaurd, a game that we have been waiting for the longest time for, and have been wondering, why the hell did it take this game so long to come out? And IGN created a story, how BioWare finally got Dragon Age to the finish after a tumultuous decade. In a studio so steeped in history, McKay is a relative newcomer. He took over as BioWare general manager in the wake of Casey Hudson's second departure after stops at Disney, Marvel, and numerous other studios in his 25-year career. He worked on Def Jam Vendetta, Turok, and an RPG that was supposedly based on the metal group Iron Maiden. He preaches order and a commitment to quality in a studio that at times has been compared to a pirate ship and has experienced worrying amounts of crunch in its history. I certainly read a lot of the same stories you did, McKay said. I feel like we brought a little order to the chaos without stifling any of the creativity. McKay inherited a studio that in many respects was not in great shape. In the span between 2017 and 2020, BioWare cycled between multiple GMs as several of its most prominent creators departed. Lead writer David Grider exited in 2016. Mike Lytle, one of Dragon Age's chief architects, left BioWare in 2017. Former GM Aaron Flynn left to start his own studio and release Nightscale. Casey Hudson's left, came back, and left again. In 2020, Dragon Age had yet to enter alpha and was coming out of a period of experimenting its implementation of multiplayer. Since the release of Inquisition in 2014, BioWare's Dragon Age team had been pulled away multiple times to try and save different projects that were in trouble, cancelled at least one version of the sequel, and pivoted to multiplayer. It was a type of development hell that has killed many other projects, or at least badly damaged their quality. In the meantime, COVID-19 pandemic hit, upending the entire game industry. It was a period that BioWare began laying the foundation that would shape its course in the next several years. Dragon Age was really focused on some pretty clear decisions we needed to make, such as multiplayer, which we decided not to pursue for all the good reasons. And when I think about the state, I think about what is it that we wanted to do with this game. And it was really about going back to our roots and what we're great at, which is single-player hero fantasy games, obviously set in the world of Dragon Age around incredible storytelling. Characters that just jump out at you in the game, McKay says. I mean, the characters in this game are filled with love and loss and complex choices. And so we really wanted to make sure we're coming back to the heart. So it's not a multiplayer game, it's not a microtransactions game, it's an offline game. These are all things that we really wanted to return to what we feel would be a successful game. Nothing makes me happier when a development team that has gone through so much, and Dragon Age the BioWare has gone through a lot. They've made Dragon Age Inquisition, which was a really good game from what I'm told, but also made Mass Effect Andromeda, which was really not a great game. It had great elements to it, but really wasn't a game that was well received by the fans. And this is what I mean, that you should let a single player game company make single player games. This is a company that experimented with an online game that completely flopped with Anthem and had a really good amount of elements and could have been seen as a really fun game, but that development team really is in its roots when it comes to single player games. And the reason why they've done single player games for so long is because they're so good at it. BioWare has made some of the best RPGs that we know of today, one of them being Knights of the Old Republic, and everybody loves those games, and they created those games. The Dragon Age games are their bread and butter. Their single player games are their bread and butter. Mass Effect is such a great single player game, and it's because it's what they're good at. They're great at making these great single player games with RPG elements that have characters that just stick with you forever. I'll never forget any of the characters that I played in any BioWare game because they're that good. And forcing game developers to create games that are just not in their kind of area of expertise is a mistake. It's a mistake to make BioWare make a multiplayer game unless it's something that they wanted to do. And it was very clear that EA was the one that pushed them to make an online game because that's what EA is. They want the money now and quickly. I'm so glad that Dragon Age Vailgaurd is focusing on its offline portions of the game that people want and people have been asking for the longest time to stick to. If your game studio is known for single player games, stick to that, because that's what will make you money, and I guarantee you Dragon Age Vailgaurd will sell a lot. And seen as some of the previews have shown, this game is going to be a lot of fun. I've seen a lot of respected journalists who've gone to play a preview come back and say that this is one of the funnest games that they played that is from the Dragon Age series, that has nailed down the action part of the game, but also not neglected the RPG elements of this game, and also the beloved characters that everybody loves from Dragon Age, which is characters that just stick with you forever. And I am rooting for Dragon Age Vailgaurd, and I cannot wait to play it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think that Dragon Age Vailgaurd is going to be good? Do you think that this studio should stick to single player games or multiplayer games? Let me know what you think in the comment section. And remember, you're pretty good.